Okay, welcome to our webinar. Our business name is Ironstone Combat, and we will be doing a presentation now on the closure report that we have generated. Okay, I will now share my screen and show the video. Okay, I just want to confirm, can you see my video?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Welcome in, everyone. So today we're taking a really detailed project closure report and turning it into this dynamic visual explainer. We're going to dive into a massive success story, a science-led community sports event put on by the Ironstone Combat Academy. Now, this whole initiative actually started out as a sports management module, but it proves something incredible. You absolutely do not need a massive bankroll to make a huge community impact. Seriously, if you're wondering how to build a safe, fully compliant, and highly effective sports program out of literally thin air, well, you are in exactly the right place.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the Ironstone concept, then look at their zero budget execution, dive into the safety and science first approach, review their performance and growth results, and finally wrap up with lessons for the future. Let's get right into it. Section 1, the Ironstone concept, how they solved the combat sports dilemma. Right away, we can see this really stark contrast between your typical intimidating boxing gym and Ironstone's totally professional non-contact approach. The team noticed a core issue in their community. It was a simple problem, but a really profound one. Local teens and adults actively wanted to box. They wanted the functional fitness, the stress relief, learning some self defense, but they were being completely deterred by traditional combat sports spaces. Those gyms can be high contact, unscientific, and honestly just super intimidating for a total beginner. So, the Ironstone model was built specifically to bridge that gap. They offered a completely non contact, science backed, and just incredibly welcoming environment, and they brought it right to their local campus. Now, to anchor the showcase, the team didn't just throw things together. They deployed a highly professional brand identity. And this is key because they were literally hosting this event on a school astroturf just because they didn't have a gym. But by presenting this really polished corporate front, they immediately started breaking down the community's usual skepticism toward those short lived, sometimes unsafe community sports projects. They took what was essentially a student project and wrap the whole shebang in a totally premium visual identity. Moving right along, Section 2, execution on zero budget. Truly the ultimate underdog story here. Okay, so what was the absolute biggest constraint of this entire project? It's this number right here. A strict zero rand, $0 out of pocket budget. Establishing a physical combat sports showcase normally costs an absolute fortune in venue rentals and expensive gear. But the Ironstone team completely bypassed all of that through pure ingenuity. They partnered with the school administration to secure the campus AstroTurf for free. And as for equipment, the founders literally just pooled their own personal training gear. We're talking their own boxing gloves, their kettlebells, their target mitts. They completely eliminated their financial exposure. $0 spent. But despite operating with that $0 budget, they functioned with total corporate precision. They executed these four strict operational phases. First up, setup and compliance. This is where they audited the turf and got all of the necessary campus clearances. Next, outreach and pre-registration. They drove this organic social media campaign and set up all their digital liability waivers. Then came phase 3, the event execution itself, running that one-day combat safety demonstration. And finally, evaluation and review to compile all the survey feedback and audit their zero budget spending. Really, it's just a masterclass in project management. Which brings us to Section 3, Safety and Science First, adapting to the environment. So having no budget obviously meant having no specialized equipment, right? And that created a massive logistical hurdle. They couldn't go out and buy or rent those expensive, shock-absorbing EVA floor mats. That meant the team had to train directly on the campus AstroTurf. So what did they do? To mitigate any joint injury risks, they strictly modified their entire curriculum to standing only, low impact drills. By completely tossing out any floor impact drills or high velocity pivots, they were able to safely use the AstroTurf's natural slight cushion. It's such a perfect example of adapting your curriculum to the physical environment you actually have, rather than trying to fight against it. And alongside adapting those drills, they enforced these completely non-negotiable protocols. First, they adopted the official recognize and remove concussion protocols straight from Sports Concussion South Africa. Plus, there was absolutely zero full contact sparring allowed. Period. We're talking only shadowboxing and mitt work. They also made sure to implement continuous sanitization of all their personal gear, and they conducted objective sideline wellness checks. So if anyone even looked fatigued, they were immediately pulled from the drills for a rest. No exception. And the result of those incredibly strict protocols? Exactly zero training-related injuries, zero concussions, and zero sprains. When you're trying to introduce combat sports to a community that's already highly skeptical, safety is literally your primary currency. Hitting this metric absolutely validated their whole non-contact, science-first training design. All right, let's look at the numbers. Section 4, Performance and Growth Results. Let's see if those metrics actually delivered. Well, it turns out the sports science conditioning wasn't just safe. It was a massive athletic success, too. During the showcase, they actually conducted baseline fitness tests with the participants, things like vertical jumps and cardiorespiratory beep tests. And for the 18 active physical attendees, they established some fantastic neuromuscular and cardiorespiratory baseline adaptations. They recorded an average 11.2% increase in lower limb explosive power and a 10.4% improvement in estimated aerobic capacity. So that science-led approach, it clearly paid off physically. And that athletic success fed directly into their commercial success. On the marketing side, their TikTok and Instagram campaigns absolutely exploded across the campus. Look at this. They targeted 5,000 views and ended up hitting 5,400. They aimed for a 60% non-follower reach and achieved a massive 74%, meaning their content was breaking way out of just their immediate social circle. But most importantly, all this digital traction actually converted into 22 highly qualified commercial lead intake sheets, completely blowing past their target of 15. They basically built this really warm customer base for a future launch, and they did it without spending a single dime on advertising. And honestly, the qualitative data was just as strong as the numbers. Post-event satisfaction scores exceeded 85%. And feedback like this quote here, "I felt welcomed and physically safe from the moment I entered the venue," that proves they successfully overcame all that historical community skepticism. They managed to create a space that was physically beneficial, for sure, but also emotionally supportive. They proved that when combat sports are managed correctly, they can be incredibly welcoming for everyone. Down to our final stretch. Section 5, Lessons for the Future. Scaling the blueprint. To scale this whole thing up and eventually secure real corporate social responsibility sponsorships, the closure report outlines these essential upgrades. Number 1, they definitely need to procure those high-density EVA formats so they can safely introduce ground-based movements and agility drills. Number 2, integrating an automated cloud-based CRM software to keep their digital databases secure. Number 3, adopting some advanced tech, specifically Neuroflex VR headsets to establish ultra-precise cognitive baselines for concussion screening. And finally, forming a formal memorandum of understanding with the local Department of Education. That will let them integrate this safety-first curriculum as an official school program. The Ironstone Combat case study is absolute proof that a lack of funding is never, ever an excuse for a lack of action. By prioritizing safety, leveraging the resources they already had, and relying on structured science, they created a massive impact out of literally nothing. So I want to leave you with this. How can you apply the zero-budget, safety-first framework to ignite your own community initiatives? What resources are sitting right in front of you that you're currently completely overlooking? Think about it, and then start building.
Okay, thank you. We will now. We have a few questions prepared that Issa will now answer for us. Will just give me 1 second, please.
Yes. Please repeat that.
Okay. You can't see my screen anymore, right? Just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So our first question is, what is the main motivation behind the Ironstone Combat Academy initiative?
Well, the team is to make combat sports accessible to communities which was interested in benefits of boxing, for example, fitness, stress relief, and somewhat self-defense. But it felt intimidated by traditional high contact and often less scientific combat sports in our environment.
Okay, thank you. Question number two. How was the initiative executed with a zero-rand budget?
Well, the team relied a lot on magnitude rather than financial resources. So they partnered with local schools to use the campus astroturf for free and utilize the founders' owner personal training equipment such as boxing gloves, kettlebells, target mitts to avoid such as any out of pocket expenses for gear.
Okay, next question is, how did the program ensure participant safety despite the lack of specialized and high-cost equipment?
Well, in this case, they strictly modified their training curriculum to include only standing only, low impact drills, eliminating floor impact exercises or high velocity pivots. Additionally,
Okay,
they would somewhat enforce strict or non negotiable safety protocols, including recognized concussion prevention measures, a ban on full contact sparring, and continuous sanitization of gears and etc.
okay. Just one more question. Did the scientific low-impact approach actually yield results for the participants?
Um, After all the results, yes, it did. Baseline fitness tests showed an average of about 11.2% increase in lower limb explosive power and 10.4% improvement in estimated aerobic capacity among active physical attendees, proving that the science lead conditioning was effective. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so
Uh,
much. I'll conclude our webinar. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you very much.